Hello, hello, my lovely people. Welcome back to the podcast. You may have noticed something different. Yes, we have a brand new name. This podcast used to be called Love Unplugged, and that name meant so much to me when I first started the podcast many, many years ago, it feels like. At that time, I was in a deep space of healing, recovering from deep burnout, reconnecting with myself, learning how to nurture who I was through self love and self care practices. And at the time, the name just felt right. It felt like home. And as I evolved, like we all do, so did the conversations on this podcast. We naturally shifted into more business focused discussions, but the heart of it always remained the same, which is why I never changed the name at that time. Because at the end of the day, what are we really doing here? We're building a business and a life that we love. And that still held true. But my journey is continued to evolve. Early last year, I felt this massive nudge to take a break. And let me tell you, I tried to ignore it like most of us do at first. I pushed through, told myself, I've been doing this podcast for so long. How could I stop now? I've had great momentum with it. It's done so much for my business and for me. But inevitably, it caught up to me. I needed to pause. I needed to reset, to recalibrate, and to fall back in love with the whole process because it is a process all over again. And if I'm being totally honest, it started to feel a little bit draining. I was a little bit uninspired and I felt kind of bored in a way. And I'm not a person who thrives in stagnation. I need to make shifts. I need to change things up because I get bored so easily, which is why I've structured my business the way that it is. When I was a kid, and this is a personal story, I used to completely redecorate my bedroom every single week. I'd pull everything out into the hallway, furniture, decor, clothes, everything, and I'd completely rearrange the space. And then I'd put it all back together in a new way. My mom loved that. Not really. She and my brother tolerated it as they attempted to navigate their way through the messy hallway to the bathroom. But I needed that constant change, that shift, that refresh. And I realized that I needed that with this podcast too. So, after I think it's been about 6 to 8 months of reflection, some shifts, and some exciting things in the works, yes, there is still one big final transformation coming. I'd like to welcome you to our new space together. So, welcome to At Home with Founders. This space is where heart to heart conversations meet the realities of building a business and a life because honestly, they go hand in hand with intention and with purpose. So think of us sitting together on a couch, and I will be doing my solo shows from this spot here with your favorite warm drink in hand. Mine is a decaf Earl Grey tea with honey or a hot chocolate. And then getting real about the highs, the epic lows, and everything in between when it comes to running a business that actually works for you. So you can expect a mix of solo shows with yours truly and guest shows where we're going to learn about the experiences of other incredible, successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. I feel deeply that there is so much power in learning from each other. So, whether you are new here or whether you've been here since the very beginning, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so deeply honored to have you here with us today. And I cannot wait for all of the incredible conversations that we are going to have today and moving forwards. All right, so shall we dive into today's episode? So, I want to talk to you guys about something that I see all the time with my clients or just entrepreneurs that I speak to in general. They're incredibly smart, obviously, they're driven, and they're so passionate about what they do. They have that big vision of where they want their business to go, but somehow they're stuck in that cycle of constantly just doing, constantly working in their business instead of actually on it. Now, let's be honest, this isn't what they signed up for. None of it is. They started their business for freedom, for flexibility, to be able to step into a bigger role and really just focus on their passion and their zone of genius. But instead, like we all know when we first start off on the business, they're wearing all of the hats, they're micromanaging everything, they feel so overwhelmed, and they're exhausted. They're just so tired. So, what's missing? It's not strategy, it's not systems, it's habits. The small intentional shifts in the way that they are showing up daily in life and also in their business. Because habits, they shape how you lead, they shape how you show up, they shape how you make decisions and how you grow. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving in today. The 5 CEO habits that will completely transform the way that you run your business. And of course, it will have a positive effect on your life as well. So, first up, we have strategic planning. And before you roll your eyes and you think, Jessica, I know I need to plan, hear me out. There's a difference between planning and actually using your plans to make decisions. Most entrepreneurs wake up and react to whatever is urgent that day. So the emails that are in their inbox, the client issues that may have popped up, social media that they need to engage with, etc. Most successful entrepreneurs and CEOs are actually proactive. They're not reactive. They know where their business is heading and how to make decisions based on intentional strategy and not just gut feelings or intuition. One of the most powerful habits I help my clients implement is a weekly CEO day where you step back from the client work and you ask, what worked well this week? So you're going to look at the data, the sales, leads, the engagement metrics. 2, what didn't work? So you're going to identify the gaps, the bottlenecks, the inefficiencies, the drains. 3, what's the focus for next week? You're going to prioritize your highest impact tasks. So if you're wondering, okay, but what exactly do I do during my CEO time? I'm going to give you a few key areas that you could focus on. So number 1 is your business metrics review. You're going to track that revenue. You're going to track and log your expenses, your cash flow. You're going to look at lead generation stats. Where are your ideal targets coming from? Target leads coming from? You're going to review your marketing performance, what content or strategies are actually converting. Then you're going to look at client and offers. So you're going to evaluate your current clients. Who is a dream client and who is draining your energy, and how can you get more dream clients? What do you need to do to attract more of those? Review your client feedback. So are there any patterns in what they are loving in your experience, in their experience working with you, or that they are struggling with? You're going to assess your offers. So what's selling, what's not selling, and why? What is profitable in your business and what is not? Then you're going to do a time audit and delegation check. So you're going to review your past week and determine where did most of your time go. So like, where did you spend most of your time on? You're going to identify tasks that you can delete, delegate, or automate. So if you're still doing admin work that could be handed off, you're going to flag that for delegation. Then you're going to do CEO visualization and strategy. You're going to revisit that North Star, get realigned with it, your vision, your business goals, and you're going to determine, are you actually moving forward towards them? You're going to identify one key priority for the upcoming week that will create the biggest impact, and you're going to plan ahead. What do you need to do to set up now to make next month easier for you? Then, because I'm a systems and operations geek, you're going to do a systems and operations check. Are your processes running smoothly? Or are you hitting roadblocks constantly? So what are they? Are there any tools or automations that could simplify repetitive tasks? You're going to review your team's workflow if you have one. Are things getting stuck anywhere? So a past client of mine was constantly overwhelmed. They were drowning in client work and they were struggling to scale. When we implemented a weekly CEO day, they started making data-driven decisions, and within 3 months, their revenue increased without adding more hours. So start with just 1 hour a week to review your business. Treat it like an absolute non-negotiable meeting with yourself. If you have no idea where to start and you need some guidance, some help, and a little bit of structure, I have a free resource to support you in executing CEO Days with Clarity. So check out the show notes to gain access today. It's a guide with your CEO agendas and checklist and your CEO report that you can use as well. Now, next up is focusing on what actually is going to move the needle forwards. Because let's get real, just because you are busy doesn't mean you are productive. Many entrepreneurs get stuck in that busy work. They're answering all of the emails, they're tweaking their website for the 100th time, they're posting on Instagram, all without asking, is this actually moving me forward towards the big goal that I have for myself? The Pareto principle states that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. So ask yourself, what activities directly generate revenue or client growth? And eliminate or delegate tasks that don't align with those priorities. I worked with a client in the past who was spending hours perfecting her Instagram feed. I've been guilty of this as well. Meanwhile, her best leads were coming from referrals and speaking engagements. This is also me. Once we redirected those efforts towards more networking and partnerships, her revenue increased. So at the start of each week, identify your 3 highest impact activities and block out the time in your calendar for them. Make it a first priority to get those done, and then you can go to your plan B list of tasks that you need to do. Now, habit number 3 is intentional delegation. You cannot do it all by yourself. And if you try, you're just holding yourself and your business back. One of the biggest mindset shifts that separates struggling entrepreneurs from a thriving CEO is learning to let go. Many business owners, including myself at one time, tell themselves, it's just faster if I do it myself. No one can do it as well as I can. I don't have time to train someone. But here's the truth. If you don't delegate, you are always going to be the bottleneck in your business. And if you're stuck doing everything, you are never going to have time to focus on the high impact CEO tasks that actually grow your business and move it forwards towards those big goals and your vision. So delegation isn't just about getting things off your plate. It's about building a self-sustaining business, one that does not fall apart if you step away for a day or for a vacation and whatnot. If you feel like you've tried delegating before and it didn't work, I've had many clients do this as well. I want you to stick with me here because most people get it wrong from the start. They offload tasks, but they don't set up that team member for success. So let's fix that today. The next time that you are feeling overwhelmed, you're going to walk through this framework. Number 1, delete. Does this task, so you're going to ask yourself, does this task actually need to be done, or is it just busy work? So there was a client who was manually updating a spreadsheet every single day, and it took them 45 minutes a day. And then when we reviewed the information, we realized that they never actually used the data afterwards. So we deleted that task entirely, and we saved them 4 hours a week. Number 2 is delegate. Can someone else do this 80% as well as you can? So there was a business owner who spent about 10 hours a week responding to basic client inquiries and emails. So what we did is we created a simple FAQ, trained their assistant to handle about 90% of the inquiries because they still had to be involved on certain ones. And suddenly they had like 10 hours more a week to focus on growth and strategy. The third one is to document. If you were to hand this off to someone, does a clear process exist? So here's another example. A client tried hiring a VA, a virtual assistant, but got so frustrated when things weren't done her way. So the issue, she hadn't documented her process. Once we created that step-by-step guide, recorded a few training videos, her VA was able to take over without that back and forth confusion, the micromanaging, the double checking, the reviewing. So if you're not sure where to start with this, here's a simple exercise. Step 1, write down all the tasks that you do in a typical week or a day. Step 2, you're going to circle the ones that are low value or repetitive. So things that don't directly generate any kind of revenue in your business, things that could be potentially admin. Step 3 is you're going to pick just one task to delegate this week. Just one. Just start small. Here are some examples of things that you can delegate first. So admin work, emails, so answering emails, inquiries, and whatnot, scheduling appointments, sending out invoices, managing payments, customer support inquiries, social media posting and scheduling, podcast editing, blog formatting, research, and data entry. So those are all examples of things that you can absolutely delegate and get off your plate. Tasks that you should not delegate are high-level sales conversations, strategic decision-making, personal brand messaging. At this point, do not delegate those. So let's talk about this six-figure business owner as an example who was drowning in tasks. She had that VA, but she refused to fully let go. She was still checking every single email before her assistant sent them out. She was still micromanaging every single post before it went live. So we did a time audit because she wasn't aware of how much time this was taking out of her work week. So guess what? She was spending over 14 hours a week doing tasks that were already being done, that could be fully handed to her team. But the problem was she didn't set them up with the success that they needed. So she didn't have the processes and the trust structures in place in order to be able to fully let go and trust. So here's what we did. We created those clear SOPs so that her team knew exactly how to complete the tasks the way that she needed them to. We set up a weekly check-in instead of a constant micromanagement, and we implemented a trial run, delegating one small project at a time, and we gave feedback after it was done rather than just hovering. So the result, it freed up half her work week in less than a month. So if you're feeling resistant to delegating, let's address some of those common fears that I've experienced, that almost every single entrepreneur that I speak to has experienced. So we're going to go through the truth as well as the common fear. So I don't have time to train someone. That is a common fear that many have. The truth is, training someone will actually save you hours every single week moving forward. So yes, there's some time up front that you need to put in, but it's going to pay off long term. Another one is no one can do it as well as I can. The truth is, if someone can do it 80% as well, it's good enough. Free yourself up for that higher level work. Another one is I tried hiring before and it didn't work out. So the truth is the problem wasn't likely the hire, it was the lack of processes and expectations. So I challenge you to delegate one task this week. Pick one thing, just one thing from your to-do list that someone else can do for you. And if you don't have a team, think of it from an automation perspective. Pick one thing that can be automated. If you do have a team, record a quick Loom video explaining the process and then hand it off. Resist that urge to micromanage. Now, DM me on Instagram at Project Love Co and tell me what you delegated. I want to celebrate. So share it with me because that is such a huge step that you've taken. I want to hear about it. Now, habit number 4 is continuous learning and then getting in the room with other successful CEOs. The best CEOs never stop learning, period. If you are not learning, you are stagnating. Your business can only grow as fast as you do. I have seen so many entrepreneurs hit that revenue plateau, and not because they lacked skills, but because they were operating from that same mindset, the same strategies and perspectives that they had when they first started. The reality is every stage of business requires a new level of thinking. The strategies that got you from 5K months will not get you to 10K months and beyond. The mindset that got you to 6 figures won't get you to multi 6 figures or 7 figures. The way that you are leading today, the way that you are showing up today will determine whether your business can actually scale in a sustainable way. And the easiest way to fast track your growth, because we are all looking for that, is to surround yourself with people who are already where you want to be. So if you're thinking, okay, that's all great and dandy, but where do I start? I've got you. So here are some things that you can do on a daily basis to support you in this area. So read one business book a month, set some time on a daily basis to read some pages. So some of my favorite CEO level reads are Atomic Habits by James Clear on how small changes create massive results. So small actions that you take on a daily basis compound over time and create major shifts. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks on overcoming mindset blocks that keep you playing small. $100 million offers by Alex Hormozi on crafting irresistible offers that scale. And then listen to podcasts in your industry. So this is another one. What's amazing about podcasts is that you get free access to some of the best minds in business. So try listening during your morning routine, maybe your workout, out for a lunch walk or walk at lunch, or while you're making your coffee. Take notes on everything that you consume. So I like keeping a little journal, a little notepad, at my desk or wherever you want it to be, to jot down any actionable takeaways that I get from any books that I read, podcasts, or course that I go through, or Instagram lives that I watch, or anything like that. The key is to implement one thing at a time. One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is trying to figure it out all alone and trying to do it all at the same time. So your growth is going to skyrocket when you start getting into the rooms with other successful CEOs. And here's why. Being in the right room accelerates your growth. If you're constantly surrounded by people at your level, you're only reinforcing what you already know. When you're around people who are 5 to 10 steps ahead of you, your thinking expands. You learn from people who are already doing what you're trying to do or who have already done it. A mistake that might take you months to figure out, someone in that room can solve it in minutes because they've already gone through it. They already have the experience and they already have the solution. This forces you to level up. When you're in the same room as high-performing CEOs, you naturally start operating at that higher level. So there was someone I knew who had a 6-figure business. They built a great 6-figure business, but they were completely stuck. No matter what they did, no matter what they tried, their revenue just stayed the same. They felt like they were hustling harder than ever before, but nothing was creating the shifts that they were hoping for. When they finally dug into it, they realized that they were only learning from free content and they weren't surrounding themselves with people who could challenge the way that they were thinking. So they changed that. They invested in a high-level mastermind with 7-figure business owners, again, getting into that room with people that are 5 to 10 steps ahead of you. They hired a mentor that could help them refine their offer positioning and their sales strategy. And then they started networking in higher level rooms. Within a short period of time, they launched a premium service and they scaled past multi 6 figures without working more hours. What an incredible shift. She stopped trying to DIY her growth. That was the biggest shift. She started learning from people who had already done it. So here are some ways that you can get into the right room. So you can join a mastermind. You can look for masterminds where there are members that are at the level that you are looking to reach. So for example, if you are making 5K months and you are looking to get to 10K months, find a mastermind where people are scaling to 10K plus months. Hire a business mentor or a business coach. The right person can help you shorten your learning curve by so many years. And I know for me, that has been my experience. So find someone who has built the kind of business that you are striving for and that is willing to show you how and is really like not looking to gatekeep any secrets. And then another one is to go to those in-person events and retreats. And I say this with love because as an introvert, I feel you. If you are also an introvert, this can be a really tough one, but I can't stress this enough. Nothing replaces in-person connections. And I personally witnessed this at my own events, Clarté. Meeting high-level entrepreneurs in real life expands your network in a way that online connections just don't. Another way is to join paid communities and networking groups, whether it's industry-specific groups or private business communities in your city. These rooms are where opportunities happen. So I'm going to challenge you to commit to just 30 minutes a day for self-education. So you can try in the morning reading 1 page, 10 pages would be great, but start small if you need to of a business book. Then midday, maybe listen to a podcast while you're making lunch, while you're going out for a walk. And then in the evening, reflect on what you learned throughout the day. What is one action step that you can take? And lastly, get in the room. Look up events in your city, whether it's on Eventbrite or another platform that you have, and find events that are going to challenge you, that are going to have the people in the room that are at the level that you are striving to be. Now, I want to hear from you. So send me a DM on Instagram. What is one way that you're committing to learning this week? Remember, your growth will never outpace your own growth. So your business growth is never going to outpace your own self-development. When you prioritize learning and surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, everything is going to change for you. Now, our last and final habit, number 5, is prioritizing self-care and boundaries. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's not something you should be proud of. If you don't take care of yourself, your business will suffer. So let's get real for a moment. You did not start your business to work more than you did in your 9-to-5 job. You started it for freedom. Yet somewhere along the way, the lines got blurred. Maybe you are working late nights and weekends trying to catch up, saying yes to every single opportunity because you think that that's going to be the next thing that gets you to where you want to be, even if it's not aligned and it drains you. You're constantly checking emails, even when you're supposed to be offline. So this could be in the evenings or on the weekends or even on vacation. Or maybe you feel guilty if you aren't working. Does this sound familiar to you? So I see this all the time with entrepreneurs, especially those that are scaling past 6 figures. The pressure at that level increases, the stakes get higher, and suddenly they're stuck in hustle mode with no way out. Here's the truth though. Success is sustainable when you protect your energy. If you are constantly exhausted, if you are constantly overwhelmed, and you're feeling burnt out, your creativity is going to suffer. Your decision making is going to weaken. Your business growth is going to slow way down. I have seen too many brilliant business owners get stuck in this cycle thinking, I just need to push through just a little bit longer. I just need to push through just a little bit more. And like I said at the beginning, I've done it to myself as well, but pushing through doesn't work. You need to redesign your business to support your energy and not drain it. Again, we created our businesses to support the way that we want to live our lives. So I want you to think of yourself as the fuel source of your business. So if you are running on empty, how can you expect your business to thrive? So instead of treating yourself like a machine that can run endlessly, because we can't, start thinking like a high performance athlete. So think of somebody in your head that is such a crazy, powerful athlete. For me, I think of people who run. Athletes do not overtrain every single day. They rest, they recover, they take care of their bodies. so that they can perform at their highest level. Now, top CEOs, they don't work 24/7. They set clear boundaries around their time and their energy. So let's talk about some game changers in breaking that burnout cycle. The biggest one, honestly, is boundaries. So here are 3 key boundaries that every single CEO needs. Number 1 is time boundaries, work hours that work for you. So if you don't decide when you're off, your business will consume every hour of your day. So here's an example. A client I knew was working 7 days a week, answering emails late into the night at 11 p.m. We implemented structured work hours, and within a month, they were working 4-day weeks while increasing their revenue. So here's your action step. Pick a firm work cutoff time. So example, I shut off at 4 p.m. and then I might do about an hour or 2 in the evenings max. Number 2 is client boundaries, setting clear expectations with your clients. Your clients do not need you 24/7. They do not need 24/7 access to you. So here's another example. A business owner that I knew was drowning in client DMs. They felt guilty not responding immediately. I felt this at times as well. They set up client communication policies like email office hours and response time expectations, and then suddenly their inbox stress vanished. Because once you have those boundaries in place, the right clients will respect them. So your action step here is set an email or messaging boundary. So perhaps that could be only responding to emails between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. Now, the third one is energy boundaries, protecting your mental and physical well-being. If you do not make time for rest, your body will force you to at one point. And trust me, recovering from burnout takes 10 times as long as it did to get you to burnout. So a client that I knew and worked with hadn't taken a real day off in months. This is an example. They were constantly feeling behind, even though they were successful. What we did is we scheduled mandatory CEO recharge days. And not only did they feel better, but their business started running more smoothly because they were making decisions from a place of clarity. So your action step here is schedule 1 full day off this week. No business, no emails, no work guilt. For me, example, it's Saturdays. I always have Saturdays off the business. Here's a client, a high achieving entrepreneur who was always on. This is an example again. They were working 7 days a week, never truly disconnecting from the business, and they constantly felt like they were catching up. Here's what happened to this client. They were making decisions from exhaustion and not from strategy. They were showing up for their business burnt out, not inspired. They thought working more was the answer to their issues, but it was actually slowing them down. So here's one major shift that we did. We implemented a structured 4-day work week, and we automated their client experience, so their client onboarding, offboarding, and whatnot, so that she didn't have to manage every single inquiry manually. Within a short period of time, increased revenue while working less. They had actual weekends off for the first time in so long, and they actually felt excited about the business again instead of feeling drained by it. So what's the takeaway? Your business does not need you to be available 24/7 to grow. Here are some practical ways that you can prioritize self-care as a CEO. So start your mornings without checking emails. I struggle with this so much, and I'm still trying to nail this down right. Instead, try journaling, try reading, try moving your body first. Take movement breaks throughout your workday. So maybe you set a timer on your phone to get up and walk around, maybe take a short walk. Even that 10-minute walk between calls can reset your energy. And I know that I need that if I am going on client calls, because I definitely feel the drain of energy from client calls. Schedule white space in your calendar. So Block things off so that you have time between meetings so that you're not rushing from meeting to meeting or task to task. And then create shutdown routine for work. So what I like to do is close your laptop, set your phone to do not disturb, light a candle, play music to signal the end of your workday. Maybe it's a workout or a movement session to signal to your body that it's now transitioning into a different time of day. And then say no more often. Every yes to something that drains you is a no to something that will actually matter to you in your business. So this week, I'm going to challenge you to set one new boundary, just one that's going to protect your time and your energy. And that could be shutting down work at 6 p.m. every single night, taking an actual lunch break away from your computer and your desk. Go sit at your dining room table, on your couch, outside. Setting a no meetings day to focus on deep work. I have meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays only, and I do strict work days on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You do not have to hustle yourself into the ground to be that successful CEO. In fact, your success will come faster when you learn to protect your energy, not just your business. So that is a wrap on today's episode. I truly hope that this conversation gave you the insight, maybe even the permission to start embodying these CEO habits in your business and in your life. Because the truth is, even the smallest intentional shifts like these that we make on a daily basis, they create the massive impact and shifts over time. So before you go, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in, for spending this time with me, and for being part of this incredible community of founders who are building businesses with intention. Now, if today's episode resonated with you, I would absolutely be honored, and it would mean so much to me if you just took 1 minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback not only helps me to continue creating meaningful conversations just like this, but it also helps other founders like you find this podcast and hopefully help them in their own journey. And if you know someone, a fellow entrepreneur, a business bestie, even maybe a mentor who needs to hear this message today, go ahead and share it with them. Send this episode their way. Let's keep these conversations going beyond just this little space that we have together. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, tag me at Project Loveco, and tell me what's one CEO habit that you're committing to this week. So I'll be in the DMs cheering you on and hearing everything that you've learned from this episode. So, all right, love, that's all for today. I hope that you join me again next week for another heart to heart. Until then, take care, set those boundaries, and keep building that business your way.